Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner, Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, the Cubs are in Atlanta. Did not look good in game one, and and they have more injuries to deal with. Closer Daniel Palencia is headed to the injured list. We saw it happen Sunday. A pretty brutal loss to the Washington Nationals heading into that ninth inning up 3-1. And from the get-go, Palencia didn't look right. And by the time he exited with a shoulder issue, the Cubs were down 6-3. And he was kind of down on the ground in pain. But this doesn't seem, the initial read is they're going to give it a couple days, kind of, do the normal, what's it called? He works with the trainers and he has all the work done on his shoulder and they'll kind of see where it is after the off day on Friday. So when asked, is this a season ending thing? Counsell was pretty honest. He just said, I don't know. We have to see where we are on Friday. So that's neither. It wasn't like an, I don't know, like I'm getting a feeling that he's not positive about this. It was literal. It felt like a legit, like, we just got to see where he is after treatment for a few days.
I mean, that's interesting to hear, because honestly, reading the coverage while in Chicago and you're on the ground in Atlanta and just kind of putting two and two together using a little, history as our guide, to me, this looked kind of like a season ending type thing. Obviously, not a doctor. That's just sort of how these things usually go. But that is interesting to hear that maybe with that treatment, maybe things go a certain way, that it's not. Obviously, we don't know how long the season will go when you factor in playoffs, and maybe that's it. But what had you been seeing from Palencia? Like before that moment where obviously, he's hurt, he had been trending in kind of the wrong direction for a while.
Yeah, he just wasn't as effective. I think sometimes with him, it's just about location of the fastball. If you compare Saturday's outing to Sunday's, I don't think the stuff was degraded as much as where he was locating the fastball. At least the pitch to Josh Bell was very clearly like that's not where he wants his fastball. He doesn't. I mean, his fastball is always in the upper third or above of the zone. If he's going to miss, he's going to miss way up. I'm not sure if he was trying to get down and in on Josh Bell there, but we don't really see Daniel Palencia pitch like that with this fastball. So that's why that one was. That seemed odd. Like he clearly was off with his command, but that's not something that you are shocked to see with Palencia. When he's not right, he's a little bit off with his command, and we're not seeing it. I guess the thing is we're not seeing it, come out with a bunch of walks. I think that's what we used to see with before Daniel Palencia started getting locked in and look like the pitcher that he was now. Saturday looked like the good version of Palencia. I kind of felt like, oh, okay, turning a corner here. But you're right. It was like a 5+ ERA in August. ERA isn't always the best indicator for a reliever, but you could kind of see like he wasn't getting the job done. The outings weren't as crisp. They weren't as dominant. They were not the 1, 2, 3 innings that we'd been getting used to with him. And frankly, like it kind of looked like it, is he like, it wasn't like he was removed from the closer role. He was still the closer, but he was being used in different roles. I mean, he came in on Saturday with a 2-1 deficit. That was an interesting way to be used. He hadn't been pitched in 3 days, but still, it's not like 5 days off. So it was interesting to see Counsell was even starting to. I don't know if Counsell was thinking about how to handle the ninth differently, but maybe it was just like all hands on deck type thing. I don't know what was going on, but there were changes happening as far as his usage was going. And I think on the road, when the previous road trip that you were on, he explained it and like, I just needed my best reliever in that moment, or it was still a big moment because he came in a couple tie games in the top of the ninth. And I think those are look, I think it makes sense to use your best reliever in that situation if you feel he's your best reliever, but traditionally on the road in the ninth inning in a tie game, you don't use your closer, right? That's kind of the old school thought process.
Well, yeah, who's going to be the save getter now? When I'm sure Counsell was giving definitive, absolute
Oh yeah,
statements about how he was going to use this.
yeah, absolutely. He named a ninth inning guy, an eighth inning guy, and a seventh inning guy. It's out getters. How do you piece together 27 outs, Patrick?
Yes.
That's the answer. I think if you pushed Counsell to say who is your best reliever, he wouldn't have to think too hard, and he'd say Brad Keller. And then I think he really trusts Andrew Kittredge. I'm not sure if the fan base does. I can't get a good read on what fans think. I think he's been really good, and he's had there was one. First of all, when you blow a 1-run lead in a low-scoring game, that's the type of stuff unless it's happening every other outing. That for me, that's on the offense. Like, you build a bigger lead. Stop doing this to your bullpen. But he did. I think early on he had a really bad outing, Kittredge. But other than that, his numbers are great with the Cubs. Above 30% strikeout rate, like 3% walk rate, just awesome. I like him. I like his demeanor. I like his ability to handle big moments. It doesn't seem like he's overthinking situations out there. Those two guys, I think, are your righties, and then Thielbar's been a stud, and from the left side, and Pomeranz has really bounced back nicely. I think you piece together the later innings with those guys, and what the question may be, and I think Counsell kind of looks at it this way: is it's not who gets the ninth, it's who's going to get those outs that Daniel Palencia was getting, whether they were in the ninth inning or not. Like, who gets those outs now? There are 3 more outs that you're going to have to get from a trusted reliever. Who is that? Is it Porter Hodge, who looked really good over the weekend, and Friday was his best outing? I'm not there of trusting him yet again, but he's going to get more opportunities now. Is it Michael Soroka, who has had 2 lives and will pitch in Iowa on Wednesday, and is both Soroka and Counsell say his velocity is back to what it was, a couple months ago. If that's the case in short bursts, we know this guy can do really well in that. So I think those are 2 names as far as not currently fully on the radar that you would say, like, hey, those guys have a chance to step up. And, I think Taylor Rogers is another one of those. Results aren't there, but peripherals are fine. Veteran guy. Can he have a strong final 3 weeks? Those are some names. I'm probably missing an obvious right-handed reliever in the bullpen right now but there are guys that just need to step up and get those outs that Daniel Palencia got. Basically, like a 6th and 7th inning type guy needs to step up and be more trustworthy. I think we're going to see Ethan Roberts go back down soon because of Jameson Taillon. And then we're going to, by the way, Ethan Roberts was called up for Daniel Palencia. Right. People didn't realize that. And then you'll see, is Ben Brown part of this mix still? He hasn't earned a lot of trust right now. So there are guys that can step up. My eyes are on Hodge and Soroka when Soroka comes back.
Yeah, I mean, Soroka, Kittredge, if they can find some spots for Rogers. I mean, this was part of the deadline strategy, right? The calculation, the sort of hedging, and we all focused on the starting pitcher because that's what the Cubs were focused on. And I know it's imperfect in terms of trying to project how, like, a reliever of all positions is going to perform over 2 months in shorter bursts. But we saw that the Padres have made, high octane relievers a priority for October. And it would be kind of fascinating to see the Cubs and Padres match up for a number of reasons. But that's where I think, you look at it and, like, Palencia was kind of rolling there. But I think if you look at his Baseball Reference page, you see the track record. Like, we thought they would have been more aggressive on getting another established closer type. I think he just went on the IL, but Kyle Finnegan, Iglesias in Atlanta. Again, this was something that we're not really second guessing here. It was more of our reporting around the deadline showed that they were kind of in on these guys. They were interested and ultimately pulled back. I think this will be certainly an innings puzzle test for Counsell when we look ahead here of it's going to be all hands on deck in a 3-game series. So I think that's another way to think about it too of, I don't know, would Tyone be pitching out of the bullpen? Can he get you 6 outs? Or, they do have good starting pitching, which is, important. I don't think they're going to be scrambling, the first 2 times through the order. But whether or not it was Palencia, I think we all sort of sensed a regression was coming. I mean, Pomeranz, Thielbar, I mean, these guys have given you more than I think you could have reasonably hoped for. And now they just got to go figure it out. They have time, but they need to find some solutions.
Real quick before we take a break, I know some people raise their eyebrows at us suggesting that they should get someone like Raisel Iglesias, or that Iglesias was on the radar. 1 run in his last 19 innings, 18 strikeouts to 2 walks. A veteran that kind of turned it on. And like, like these guys, like the ERA may not look pretty at, on July 25th or whatever. But he's a veteran with a track record that had good peripherals, and the stuff wasn't awful. So it was a good guy to take a risk on. They obviously didn't get a deal done for him. I mean, they went and gotten 2 veterans. One looks like he's working out. Taylor Rogers actually has better peripherals than he did before joining the Cubs, but the results aren't there. So they did get veterans. They didn't get a dominant closer. They didn't get an established closer or someone that could be like co-closer as much. Maybe you could argue Kittredge can be that guy, but Keller is probably the first in line to take over. But that's the value in going to get veterans, because you don't know. Just don't overthink that a couple bad months. A guy that has a track record, take a risk on him. That's kind of what the deadline is for when it comes to relievers. All right, let's take a quick break and talk about some other injuries and potential returns.
Your season, your shot. The NFL is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown score to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, plus score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL to get you $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Patrick, there's a couple more injuries, obviously, to the lineup. We've been talking a lot about Pete Crow-Armstrong and Kyle Tucker. I don't think Pete was this happened after our last podcast of last week. So the Pete news is new. Tucker is still working his way back. Still hasn't played since we last recorded. That happened Tuesday, right? He exited the game
a week
Tuesday.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a week. Look, these things are. I don't want to take it like a look. There's some of the blame goes on the Cubs for not placing these guys on the IL, but the player is involved. The player has to agree to these things. A player can push for it. I think he's fine, and I think he's coming back Tuesday or Wednesday. We're recording on a Tuesday. I'd be surprised if he's not back in the lineup unless there's a setback, because basically in pregame, we all watched him run around in the outfield. He was doing everything at near 100%. It sounded. Counsell said everything checked out. He was not just running straight lines, but running arcs and all those things, and seemed to be fine and close to going all out on everything. So I think he's fine. I understand the frustration of the fan base, though, because I think 3 extra days. Like if they had put him on the IL on Thursday and been able to backdate it to, or on Friday or Saturday and been able to backdate it to Wednesday. He'd be back by the weekend or back after the weekend. I don't know. Maybe is it worth getting 4 extra games out of him? I guess is the question. 3 or 4, is that worth it? Okay. Then it is.
I just say, like, when it's Kyle Tucker, when
Okay.
you have him for 1 year, a couple weeks left, I get the frustration, but I feel like sometimes every injury gets lumped in together, and there are certain people who are exceptions. And Kyle Tucker, to me, is one. I get it. Like it's not like a fun story for us to cover, to ask every single day, like before asking Counsell before the game and then after the game.
How do you check
today
out?
was a big day. Yeah, how's he going to present tomorrow? Are you ruling this in? Are you ruling this out? But I mean, he better be in the lineup soon, right?
Yeah. I think if this drags on and he doesn't play this series, then it's a bad decision. But I agree with you. If it's today, if it's Wednesday, then fine, whatever. Wednesday is Chris Sale, so that'd be a weird game for him to be his first back. But you'd like it to be today, and I don't have a big issue with it because I think the player also has a say, and I'm sure he doesn't want to go on the IL. He probably feels like the longer he's out, the more he'll get out of rhythm. Probably feels good at the plate. Why screw things up? And if he's healthy, he's healthy. I think that's the thing that sometimes fans don't. They want to be proactive and say give him time. If the player doesn't agree to it, it leads to a mess, and it's not just on the team. The player has to be convinced, and I don't know what's going on, if they were pushing him to go on the IL or if they were just letting him take the lead. But a lot of this is player driven at times. With PCA, I think this is good news. He missed. When did that happen? That happened Friday, so he's missed.
That was Saturday, right?
Was it Saturday?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It was Saturday. So he only missed 1 full game and then was back out there DHing Monday. And according to Counsell, no structural damage, and that's the big thing. Like, he's fine. He said he could go out there and play center field, but there was essentially they just wanted to give him an extra day of one less moment of, like, apparently it hurts. There is some pain when he's slowing down. So he's like, okay, less of that happening, and then less sliding, jumping, diving potential for that happening if he just has a DH day. Not a great day at the plate for him, but he's back and he's healthy, and you hope that what he showed on Friday, I believe, is what you want to kind of carry over. And even Saturday, he ripped a nice double, didn't he? So it looked like he was quote unquote back. So you hope that carries over, and that the knee is not something that lingers, or that these couple days off aren't something that gets in his head and screws up his timing or anything like that. That's if they're not playing well, if they're not playing, this team's not very good offensively. They're an average team offensively, if that. If they're not playing well, it's just a problem for this team. I don't know if you have more, but we can take a break and get back and talk about the offense.
Yeah, let's do it.
Time for your weekly Arena Club segment, where we see what AJ pulls from a slab pack. And here we go. Pulling a little Emerald pack this week, AJ. Looking for something big.
Always. I'm always looking for the big thing. Next big thing, Scott.
Big money, baby.
Yep. No whammies.
We've got a Dave Winfield card from 1974, a 74 Topps card from this Emerald pack. estimated value $300.
Mm-hmm.
You could sell it back for $270.
Sold.
I feel like you're into more of the current players. Would that be accurate?
No, I mean,
You like legends?
in my showroom, I have a Robin Yount. I have a Griffey rookie card,
Oh,
I think.
that's true.
So, I mean, I have some older vintager players. Bob Gibson.
Oh, yeah, you have Gibson.
So, I disagree, Scott. But Dave Winfield, for that amount of money back, I'm reselling it.
And if you want to get your own pack or new card, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/foul.
Patrick, I don't get annoyed very often watching this team just because, we're journalists and we do what we do. And I was in a good mood yesterday because I was during that game. It was the first half of the Bears game, so I was in a good mood watching the Bears, keeping an eye on the Cubs game. So but that offense had me annoyed. That was one of the worst showings I've seen from the offense. It wasn't just the performance; it was the fact that they were going up against an ERA with a 5+. A pitcher with a 5+ ERA. Who they were seeing for the second time in 5 days, who has a strikeout rate below 20%. And for 5 innings, there was nothing. There was one base hit, a single by Willie Castro, and it was just nothing. They were putting up no offense. It was a hard watch, and it was quick at bats. Just didn't like a lot of times you watch this. I watch this and I see, okay, they're putting up good at bats. The luck isn't going their way. That's a good at bat. They're not cashing. It's just they're not just getting the big. They're just not getting the big hit. No, it wasn't that. It was just not very competitive. I think there was one inning where they loaded the bases with 2 outs and Pete swung at a pitch out of the zone and grounded out to end the threat. And that was kind of it. There was another inning with a threat and they scored 1 run, but just not and for the first time in a while, everybody kind of admitted it. Counsell was Counsell said it hasn't been good, but he's always said he trusts it'll pick up, and he's like, we have good players, but we need to be better. But he pointed out, he was like, there was no offense. He was asked a question about Shota Imanaga and transitioned into there was no offense, nothing. There were no threats, nothing happened. And someone asked, anything you're seeing that's a problem with the at bats? He's like, yeah, outs.
The Cubs are in a weird spot. When you kind of just lay everything out here of, all right, they need to get Tucker and PCA back rolling after they resets, and that appeared to be happening, and then they both get injured. I was on that road trip where it was, Tucker and PCA both looked back. That was a pre-PCA reset in Anaheim. But okay, they sweep the Angels, then they get swept by the Giants, and then you hope Colorado would maybe kind of spark something. And it didn't really. You'd think facing just an awful Nationals team, 3-day games at Wrigley Field, you think the Nationals might be a little tired after having 3 nights in Chicago. They battled. They won a series against the Cubs, but also you can't really panic because their playoff positioning is pretty solid. I think you'd want a home series at Wrigley for a number of reasons, including how awesome the Padres are at Petco.
Yeah.
In April, it was electric. I could only imagine what it would be like for a playoff series. And then, you see a couple injuries here and there, and it just becomes this what other cards do they have to play here? It's basically just hoping that Pete and Seiya and Tucker start hitting home runs again, because you're right. The world doesn't need another Bears podcast, but the Cubs had a lot of, kind of 3 and outs there, a lot of just dead time for just these long stretches that make it less than entertaining.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the other writers and looked at the rest of the league, not just the rest of the league, the rest of MLB is a mess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't see a team that you're like, well, how are they going to beat them?
Yeah.
You can point out all the flaws that the Cubs have, and I can point to every other team and say, look at this, that, and the other. There's a lot of issues going around baseball. The Phillies look like the team to beat, and they lost their best pitcher and one of their best all around position players in Trey Turner. So Turner may be back before the playoffs, but still, the point is everyone's dealing with a lot of stuff. But specifically with the Cubs, none of it matters. None of it matters. Forget what the other teams are doing. Nothing matters with the Cubs until the offense gets going. And it doesn't have to be April and May where they were scoring 6+ runs a game. But it can't be what it has been. This is, and I like to preach patience. I like to say, let's see where this is going. It's been long enough. We've all been patient enough. And the fans that were worried a month ago, look, if you want to get worried early, that's fine. I think it's sounding alarm bells too quickly. But the reality is it's dragged on. We've talked about this. We've gotten some questions in our mailbag, like, why does this happen every year? I don't think anyone has those answers, because last year our answer was you get a superstar and you don't, and that carries you through these slumps. Apparently that's not the answer. I don't know what the answer is. But teams go through slumps, and they can be weeks long, and sometimes they can be a full month, but this is going on far too long of an offensive downtick with no consistency. I think that's the biggest thing. We said, like you said, there's flashes of it. There were flashes on that road trip. There were flashes. I really liked the comeback against Atlanta a week ago. Friday against the Nationals, great game. But other than that, that's all it is. That's all it's been, flashes. And then it goes back to a lot of what fans complained about in like 23, even last year, or even years in bad seasons where it's like, oh, here's a 10-run game and then 5 games of 1, 2, or 3 runs. And that's not going to be enough. It puts too much pressure. This is another thing. It puts pressure on the staff, not just the starters. I'm talking about relievers. You then have to use these relievers too much. And this is what happened down the stretch of 23. Too many close games. Bullpen got worn down, and it cost them. You don't want your bullpen arms to get worn down. Brad Keller hasn't given up a run since July, since before the All-Star break. You don't want him to get worn down. You don't want Kittredge to get worn down. So these are the things you need. You need the offense to get going and win you some games. I'm not as concerned about the wins and losses yet as I am, like, just get the offense going. And let's see these guys look a little bit better heading into the playoffs. I agree you prefer home field against the Padres. I just think, like, it's much more important that these guys get going, and I see an offense that looks close to what was early in the season. And then it's like, okay, now I trust that they can make some noise and do some damage. I haven't seen it in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This has been going on for so long. Like, the idea of bringing a superstar in, like Kyle Tucker hasn't been a superstar for months, weeks, wherever you want to set the kind of demarcation line. Seiya Suzuki not hitting home runs. Pete's been stuck on whatever it is, 27, 28 home runs for a while now. I guess he got the one in Anaheim, but obviously those, first to 25 home runs, and 25 stolen bases, under 24, whatever those stats were that kept popping up, like, don't really hear those anymore. And I guess there are two good things. You make a great point. Ken Rosenthal wrote about this on The Athletic the other day. Like, all these contenders are flawed. Like, this 162 game season is just such a marathon. It's so brutal on players that everyone's kind of dragging. The Dodgers don't look like the greatest team of all time. Like, I don't think they're going to win 120 games or whatever. And so from there, the Phillies banged up. Their best pitcher is out in Wheeler. Some of those the left side of their infield basically is on the shelf. So that, kind of relatively speaking, is a little encouraging. And then honestly, like, it's crazy, but this is how playoff baseball works. It's going to come down to like 1 or 2 pitches, and then we'll just write, these kind of sweeping things
judgments.
of like, if Pete or Tucker or Saya just like nail that one pitch and that swings the first game and then they win a series, or if, they foul it straight back, during the regular season, they talk about you might only get 1 good pitch to hit per at bat.
Yeah.
I don't know how that translates against the best teams, best pitchers in the playoffs, but like that's kind of the margins we're talking about here in a 3-game series of like, do you get the bounce? Does the ball land? Does it get caught? Is it a line drive right at someone, or maybe a couple inches the other way? Like it's going to be razor thin here, and I think that's why Counsell loves to say I think that's the story we tell ourselves afterwards. Like that is very much his thinking, but his frustration, his annoyance was obvious reading the quotes, watching the videos online. Like he knows that this needs to get straightened out fast.
Yeah. And I appreciate his patience with it, but I also appreciated the fact that he was annoyed because, like I said, I was watching this. I'm like, this is bad offense. Like, this is not good. The way they were performing. I'm not saying it is a bad offense. What I saw on Monday night was a bad performance.
Yeah.
And I think everyone was annoyed by it, and it was good to see that kind of reaction. Even Nico had some pointed comments, and I appreciated it. I appreciated hearing it, and I'm sure fans kind of liked it. Maybe they want more screaming and yelling, but this is how I think teams should react. This is their natural response, right? You don't want them screaming and yelling if that's not how they actually behave. But I appreciated like a little bit of realness with that, and not like, oh, it'll come. Yeah, maybe it will, but it's time to get going. All right, we'll 2 more in Atlanta, and then a home series against, I believe, a Rays team that's playing pretty well. We'll have a couple more episodes this week coming at you. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. This is Northside Territory. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.